Renting versus buying a home is the most contested personal finance topic in America right now. And the reason it's contested is that both sides are right under different conditions for different people at different points in their life. What we're doing today is cutting through the noise and running the actual 2025 numbers for a middle-class earner. Not a real estate agent's pitch. Not a renter's rationalization. The math, with the assumptions shown, and the one variable that determines which answer is correct for your specific situation. Here's where we're going. As of June 2025, renters in the top 50 U.S. metro areas save $908 a month compared to buyers of similar homes, according to Realtor.com data. That's $10,896 a year going into the renter's pocket instead of toward a mortgage. And yet, the average homeowner has a net worth of $430,000 compared to $10,000 for the average renter. 43 times more wealth. Both of those numbers are true at the same time. And the tension between them is exactly what this video is about. By the end, I'm going to give you the one number that determines which path makes more sense for your specific situation. It's not the mortgage payment. It's not the rent. Most content completely ignores it. What renting is throwing money away gets wrong. The throwing money away argument treats rent as a pure expense with nothing in return. That is not accurate. When you rent, you are paying for housing, maintenance-free living, zero property tax obligation, no homeowner's insurance premium, and the flexibility to move without a transaction that costs 6 to 10% of the home's value. When you buy, the equivalent of throwing money away includes mortgage interest, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, HOO fees where applicable, and maintenance and repairs. None of those build equity. They are costs. On a $400,000 home with 10% down at 6.3% interest in January 2026, mortgage payment, approximately $2,218 per month principal, and interest on $360,000. Property taxes at the national average of roughly 1.1%, $367 per month. Homeowners insurance, $150 to $250 per month. Call it $200. Maintenance and repairs, the standard guideline is 1% of home value annually. On a $400,000 home, that's $4,000 a year, or $333 per month. Total monthly housing cost before any equity math, $3,118. Of that $3,118, roughly $1,800 in the first year is interest, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, not equity. That's the money that never comes back to you regardless of what the home does. In year one of a $400,000 home purchase, you build approximately $3,700 in equity through principal paydown. The rest of your $37,416 in annual housing costs is gone, the same way rent is gone. The true total cost of buying in 2025, let's build the complete buying picture for a middle-class earner purchasing a median-priced home in 2025. The home price, $396,800. That's the national median for existing homes as of January 2026, according to industry data. We'll round to $400,000. Down payment at 15.2%, the December 2025 average, $60,800. That's money that's now illiquid. To replace it in a savings account earning 4.5%, you're giving up $2,736 per year in guaranteed interest. Closing costs 2 to 5% of the purchase price. On $400,000, that's $8,000 to $20,000 paid at closing, never recovered directly. Monthly mortgage payment on $339,200 at 6.3% over 30 years, approximately $2,103. Property taxes, $367 national average. Insurance, $200 month. Maintenance reserve, $333 a month. Total monthly cost, $3,003 before any HOO, before any major repair, before a furnace or a roof. Now compare, the median rent for a comparable home in the same market is roughly $2,095 per month as of 2025 for major metro areas. The monthly difference is approximately $908, which is exactly the Realtor.com savings figure we started with. Quick reality check. Are you currently renting or owning? And roughly how long do you plan to stay where you are under 5 years, 5 to 10, or over 10? Drop it in the comments. It's relevant to everything we're about to cover. Before I go further, I need to show you the data that ends this debate in the home ownership direction for most people. Because if I only showed you the monthly savings, you'd walk away thinking renting is always the better call. It's not. The average homeowner's net worth is $430,000. The average renter's net worth is $10,000. That's not a small gap. That is a $420,000 wealth difference between two groups of American adults. The gap is real. And it comes from a mechanism that renting doesn't have: forced savings. Every mortgage payment includes a principal component that builds equity whether you think about it or not. No decision required. No willpower required. The money moves automatically into the asset. For most renters, that $908 monthly savings does not go into a brokerage account earning market returns. It goes into the checking account and gets absorbed by the month. The math that makes renting look competitive on paper assumes the renter invests the difference consistently, every month, for decades. Most don't. That's not a moral judgment. It's a statistical reality, and it's the strongest practical argument for buying a home, even in an expensive rate environment. So both sides have real merit. The monthly savings favor renting. The wealth accumulation favors buying. The one number that resolves the tension, the one I promised at the start, is the break-even timeline. We're there now. The break-even. The only number that actually answers your question, the break-even, is the point in time at which buying has cost the same as renting when you account for all transaction costs, upfront costs, monthly cost differences, and the opportunity cost of the down payment. In most U.S. markets at current rates and prices, the break-even falls between 5 and 8 years. In high-cost markets like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, it can extend to 10 to 15 years. In mid-range markets like Indianapolis, Columbus, or Raleigh, it can be as low as 4 years. Here's the practical rule. If you plan to stay in the home for longer than your break-even period, buying is likely the stronger financial move, particularly when you factor in the forced savings mechanism and historical appreciation. If you plan to stay for less than your break-even period, buying likely costs you money net of everything. Selling a home in under 4 years in most markets means you paid 6% to a real estate agent plus closing costs plus all your non-equity housing expenses, and your equity hasn't grown enough to cover it. I want to be honest about where this framework breaks down. The 5 to 7 year break-even is based on assumptions: home appreciation rate, rent growth, investment returns on the alternative investment, and interest rates that can't be predicted with certainty. The 5% rule used by some financial analysts to estimate the annual cost of home ownership relative to the home's value is a useful approximation, but it is highly sensitive to input changes. Shifting the assumed appreciation rate from 4 to 2% per year extends the break-even meaningfully. Changing the assumed investment return from 7 to 9% can make renting look significantly better. The research doesn't give a universal answer here, it gives a framework. Your specific market, your specific down payment, your specific rate, and most importantly, how long you actually plan to stay, those are the variables that determine your answer. I want to say one more honest thing before we close. I don't know what home prices will do over the next 10 years. Nobody does with accuracy. The median home sales price is up 244% since 1990, according to Fred data, which makes homeownership look like a slam dunk in retrospect. But people who bought at the 2006 peak and sold at the 2012 trough lost money even after 6 years of ownership. Homeownership has historically been a wealth-building tool for American families. That is true. Whether the next 10 years look like the last 30 is genuinely uncertain. Anyone who tells you they know which way this goes is either guessing or selling something. Here's the number I held until now. 64% of millennial homeowners say they regret their home purchase, according to a Bankrate survey. Not 6%, 64%. The top reasons: maintenance costs higher than expected, purchase price stretched the budget too thin, and they bought in the wrong location or at the wrong time in their life. The regret isn't from homeownership itself. It's from buying before the conditions were right, before the down payment was solid, before the budget had real room, before the timeline was long enough to break even. That's the real caution, not don't buy. The caution is don't buy before the conditions support it. Here's the summary. Renting is not throwing money away. Buying is not always the smart move. Both are true. The right answer for your situation comes down to three things: how long you plan to stay, whether you would actually invest the monthly savings if you rented, and whether your budget has enough room to carry the full cost of homeownership without stretching your margin to zero. If you plan to stay 7 or more years, your budget can handle the real monthly cost without stress, and you have a meaningful down payment ready. Buying is likely the stronger financial path, especially for the wealth building effect over time. If you're uncertain about the next 5 years, your down payment is small, and your budget is already tight, renting is not a failure. It's the right financial decision for where you are right now. There is no shame in either answer. The mistake is buying before the conditions are right because someone told you renting is throwing money away. Are you currently renting or owning? And more importantly, how long do you plan to stay where you are right now? Drop it in the comments, both the number and the situation. I actually read them. If this is your kind of channel, subscribe. See you in the next video.